Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial on Django. This is the second part of that Django tutorial. Now this here we have started that uh, or I can say the server, and now you can see that we created this kind of website. Now this was rendered by Django by default, and I said that we will add a choice field that will look like a choice in the database. So here you can have some very amazing documentation about Django models, and Django models are very heavily documented about many kinds of people, like in Stack Overflow, in this Django documentation, the official Django documentation. And you can see, and you can, if you search about it on Google, you can get a lot of information about them. Now there can be also relationships in Django. And what are relationships? uh, Relationships are like, now if you have a table called models, now model no table called exams, and another table called teacher. Now if you have some kind of you can say idea about it in real life, how what is a teacher and how is a teacher related to an exam, you will understand this very neatly. Now the teacher is the one who writes the exams. So if you have exams as a model, you can have many fields inside it. One of the fields can be title, second of them can be content of the exam, the difficulty of the exam, the students who gave that exam, or the teacher who wrote the exam. Now teacher, how do you store teacher as a field if teacher already is a table in your database which consists name and age and the class which the teacher teaches, and the strictness. Okay. And how can you write this as a single field? That's where the relationships come in. Now you can relate this teacher as a field. Now you can store this teacher as a table, this teacher as a field. Now teacher is a table with name, age, class, and strictness. And let me say we have a entry in the table. The name of the teacher is Mr. Padma. Okay, we have Mr. Padma as our teacher. Now you can relate Mr. Padma, write Mr. Padma as a teacher, but his name will not work. Now that's where relationships are important in Django. Now Mr. Padma is a teacher. He has his name, his age, his class, his strictness, and you want to list all of them in one single field. How can you store them? The best way here is using a relationship in Django with models.foreign key. Now a foreign key, what it does is that it relates one man to the next. Like here we can have the foreign key as teacher. Okay, that means only a entry in the table of the teachers can be a field, or can be an entry in this field. Now this is a field. Now the teacher is a field, and Mr. Padma is an entry in that field. Okay, models the foreign key teacher. Now that will say that you can evaluate to Mr. Padma. Now if you will see all that in action, you will learn a lot about them, and will be a lot clear. Okay, so now we have our exams and the models. Now I only taught you about this models.char field. There are many kinds of fields in this models. There are various fields, text field and many kinds of fields. Let me have the title of the exam equal to models dot jar field. Max length is equal to maybe 100. The content of this exam, we will also evaluate it, we will also describe it later. And here now, what I said, now I just said that you can have something like, you can write a model as teacher, and a teacher is a human essentially, so he has name, he has some age, he has some password of his account or his email address and so on. So that is the way your organization or your website can contact the teacher. How much has his students his or her students scored. So now here we have title. Now instead of creating it by hand, now Django gives a very interesting thing, that is it gives us a user field created by default. Now by default means that it is already created. Now to explain it, now let me go to settings.py, and here you can see installed apps. Now this is just one app that we just created. Apart from it, Django has this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 apps that are created by Django itself. Now these 6 apps are offering a lot more functionality than your single app. So you may want to use the functionality of these apps, and these apps are exactly like your exams app. So like here they have the exactly same file structure with a few different files, or maybe they won't contain some of your files. Okay, such an app is the Auth app. Auth is the short form for authentication, that handles all the authentication related features like signing in, logging in, users, etc. That's why we call, or many people or Django developers call Django the web framework with batteries included, because you can see we have the admin app and I showed you a glimpse of the admin app in the previous video. And we have these content types, these sessions to handle session related stuff, these messages to send the man messages, static files, and static files offer some functionality to store your static files. We have middleware, we have everything. Now here in models, we might want to use the default user model created in this app, which is django.contrib.auth. So we import it. Now we say from django.contrib.auth import. Now we want to import the models. Now it has different files, and the file structure is exactly the same like the default file structure in this exams app. So it also has a models file, and that models file has a model, a user model, and this user model is very very helpful. So we can write here that teacher, or other, you can say, you can write this field with whatever name you like to write. Models dot foreign key and user. Now this states that any other model can't be saved as a foreign key. Maybe you create a student's model with some extra functionality. You don't want a student to write an exam, you want a teacher to write an exam. So user and that must be a user, okay? And any kind of user can create that. And we would also have to specify some different, a few different parameters like on delete. Now this says, what if that exact user who created this exam died? i I don't mean died, I mean that he quitted the app, he logged out, he deleted her account or something like that. Now what will happen in that circumstance? If the user itself is deleted, then we can have models dot protect that protects the exam even after the teachers destroy their accounts. We can also have models dot cascade, that means to, if the teacher has deleted his or her account, the model would, the particular exam that she created would be destroyed if the teacher is destroyed. So title, the difficulty, the author. Now I said that we would have a drop down list, kind of a drop down list that handles things. I mean that the choices that we define, no one can write other choices except of those choices. Now the databases don't support this. Like we have here db.sqli3 that doesn't support it. PostgreSQL does, I think it does support it, and many other databases don't support it. So we would like to write here char field, because when the user, when our Python project or our Django app writes it or saves the field inside the database, then what would happen is now it does not have, the databases don't have a choice field, many of the databases. So a char field would help, and Django would evaluate if the choices are different from the choices we listed, then we would not save it. And if the choices are the same as the choices we listed, then it would save it. Now that's how it works. Now here we can have a choices parameter that will define our choices. Now choices is a tuple that consists a list of tuples. Oh, we don't have this. Now choices are a list of tuples. Are tuples that contain tuples. What I mean, it will be clear. Now this is a tuple in Python, and a tuple is like a list. It can't be edited. A tuple can't be edited, and we have this difficulty choice. This is nothing but a tuple. Inside it, there will be a few more tuples. Like now we have a tuple which says, now here char field, like we can have nightmare Ashley. First of all, easy, and then hard, and then very hard, then we have intermediate, safe, and we would also have another field called nightmare. Okay, now you can see here in the model documentation, when you scroll down, you would see here that these choices are a list of tuples, and we do choices is equal to short sizes, and this is a tuple that contains a few tuples. Okay, now here you can have the choices like easy, 1 star, something like that, but I don't usually do it. And the difficulty here, we can have choices is equal to difficulty choices. Here we can also have choices. That makes sense. Okay. Now, oh, I always misspell foreign key. Now with foreign key, I would like to tell you something. The foreign key is not the only way to get relationships in Django. Foreign key means that a teacher can have multiple exams, and the other field that you can use is a one-to-one field. That means a user or a teacher can host or can write only a single exam. Like he will or she will just create a single exam, and uh, exam will be hosted by or created by a single teacher, and that single teacher will create a single exam. That is how it works. Many to many field is also a way. Many to many field. Now, many to many field means a teacher can create many exams, and a particular let's say here, what is this exam can have multiple teachers. Like multiple teachers can create a single exam, and yes, a single teacher can create multiple exams. That's what it means. And foreign key means that, which is the most used, is foreign key. That means that a single teacher can create various many exams, but a single exam can be created by just one teacher and no one else. Okay, I hope that would be clear to you. Oh, now let me save that. Yeah. So, oh, now here it is said that now the choices must be an iterable containing actual value and a human readable name. Now here we would have a actual value and a human readable name. Here we can have the actual value as EZ. Now I don't get it why Django does that, but maybe for some reason. Hard, very hard. We can do VH, very hard. We can here do medium. And comma in between. And here we can do what can I write here? Nightmare. Save that. Now this is absolutely fine. Now here I can do Django dot Django Python manage .py make migrations, and it is saying that here it is saying that you are trying to add a non-nullable field order to an exam without a default. We can't do that. The database needs something to populate existing rows. Now it is saying that here we have admin, we already have that exam here on the server, and here we already have an exam. And what was the password? Yes, and it does have an exam. Now we have made the now here it is giving us an error. The now it means that we've messed things up. Now we have already have an exam, and we are trying to add certain fields to our table. That means the upcoming fields will be populated. Okay, that is fine, but what about the fields or the exams that exist previously? Now how will the database populate them? Now we could add a default to them, default field. That means if the user does not enter the title, then give a default title. That could be math test and difficulty. We could have, now we don't need to have default because that field existed before. Now here we can have other, the default thing that we can have is models, not models, users dot get users dot get users dot get all. Oh, now here we can add something like users, the user dot get, and we want to get user that has an ID of 1. Get user ID dot 1 d1. Now this is the default. Now here what we are doing is, now user.getID is equal to 1. Now ID is a field that is auto generated by Django. Now when this exam field will be saved in the database, it will have an additional field that will be ID, and it will be the primary key. A primary key is a must in the database, and a primary key should be unique, and in this case ID is the primary key that we can use to get or retrieve objects from the database. And also it is auto increment. That means the first object that we create will have an ID of 1, and the second with a 2, and third with a 3, and fourth with a 4, and so on. So we users.get ID is equal to 1. Now user dot objects dot get user dot objects was the thing, and now we quit that, and python manage py make migrations, and we got an error again. Oh, that is saying that we should have it can't serialize user Ishan. There are some values that cannot serialize into migration files. For more, see https this and that. Okay, let me delete this field, and we will add that again. Save that, and python manage manage.py migrate. Okay, so now with migrate we save the values in the database. Let's make it on the server and reload. We have it, exams, and we have exam object 1, and difficulty is hard. And now you can see that we have a drop down: easy, hard, very hard, intermediate, and nightmare. So nightmare is the difficulty. Save that. It's a math test, and difficulty, and we should also have a order. So we first of all we go to the users, and we see that we have a Ishan user and a user known as testing. So first of all, what we do is in the exams we first of all delete the exam, so I'm sure, and now we can add the order field. Order is equal to models dot for and key and user. Okay, save that, and Python manager py make migrations. Oh yes, on delete, we forgot about that. On delete is a must argument that we must give on a foreign key or any of the thing that concerns relationships, many field, and also a one-to-one field. Now on delete we will do models dot cascade. Now cascade will be all capital. Save that one. No, we would have and Python manage dot py migrate. We have that, and Python manage dot py run server. We have that again, and now if I reload and add exam, now difficulty easy, and we can select the other, who is the other, testing or Shan. Now save that. We would also edit the exam model later, but now that's all for today's video. In the next video we will maybe add more we will add more fields, and one thing is that we've completed 2 videos and still we are getting this screen. Now we will delete this screen and we will create a new custom screen that will display all the exams created till date. Okay, now bye bye everyone, and I hope to meet you again with a new program. Bye bye.